What's going on, everyone? Happy Friday evening. Welcome to a special Friday edition of the Winged Eagle podcast. We are up here a day early because, of course, tomorrow is AEW Double or Nothing, and I think this is pretty much going to be the routine. At least I'm going to try to make it the routine for AEW pay-per-views. Is I'm going to have to come up here for the podcast a day early, and this will probably be like a more Cliff's Notes version of the podcast. We will run through the wrestling news. We'll kind of gloss over and touch on all of the week of TV with Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and AEW, and at the very end, we will predict Double or Nothing, which comes at us tomorrow night and on pay-per-view, and I will be up here tomorrow immediately following Double or Nothing for a full show review. So you got me 2 days in a row here, and hopefully we will have a pretty decent podcast tonight because there is a fair amount to get into. Unfortunately, for the second week in a row now, I've had to open with an in-memory graphic. Last week was more of a joke, paying tribute to Vanguard 1. This week, much more serious. And we've talked about this a little bit this week. I talked about it on Monday and in my own heart review as well. We did lose Shad Gaspard this week, which was a horribly tragic story. Last Sunday, he, of course, the story's out now. he was swept away at sea, getting caught up along with the many others in a rip current or a rip tide, and they had to be rescued. And he instructed the rescuers to take care of his son first, at which time a wave crashed over him. He wasn't seen again, and search continued for a couple of days. But the more and more we learned about the situation, there really wasn't much hope of him being found alive, to be honest. We kind of knew that. We were just hoping that, the body could be found for the family's sake and for them to be able to have peace and closure. And on Wednesday, his body was located, washed up on shore, and was found. And it's just horrible because, we have to deal with enough deaths as it is in pro wrestling, and most of the time, a good portion of the time anyway, the deaths are gnarly and they're nothing to be proud of, in terms of wrestling, because it's always just a horrible story. And it's just a kick to the gut whenever you have like good people who have always had their shit together and just do good things, and are taken from us. It's frustrating. And Shad was a fucking hero, man. He was an absolute hero. He was a family man. Everybody respected this guy. The stories and everything that I've been listening to, and we've all been listening to all week across social media from his peers, and people have met him, talked to him, interviewed him, anything like that. They all say just wonderful things about the guy. A couple of years ago, I think back in 2016, he disarmed an armed robber attempting to knock over a convenience store in Florida. I think it was a BB gun, but he didn't know that. Tackled the guy, held him down until police arrived. And for something like this to happen to him, it's just like, you gotta be kidding me. 2020, are you fucking serious? But anyway, it is official now that he has passed away, so I definitely wanted to pay tribute to him and at least talk about what a great man he was and how beloved he was across all of wrestling. And it was really, kind of heartwarming video that had resurfaced. We'd seen it before, but a couple years ago when Kofi Kingston won the WWE title at WrestleMania, there's a backstage clip of MVP and Shad standing there together, kind of crying at, Kofi Kingston, black wrestler winning the title. And it was kind of a nice moment for them. And you could just see, kind of what a kind-hearted dude he was and how welcomed, he was everywhere. Triple H had mentioned that him and Stephanie ran into him like 6 months ago and had a nice chat with him. Dude was just beloved. So in the description below, I've put 2 links. There is a GoFundMe for Shad Gaspard's family. I donated to that today. And if you were planning on sending a super chat into this video or something like that, maybe just go down to that link instead and send the family your contribution that way, because, it sounds like they could definitely need it. And I think the goal that they've set out to reach will be reached based on the donations that I saw coming in today. If you want to support in a different way, Collar and Elbow has got a great t-shirt up that you can purchase with 100% of the proceeds going to Shad Gaspard's family as well. I put links to both of those right at the top of the description. So if you want to go help out and show your support, you can kind of choose which one you want to do. Either way, it benefits the family, and that's what's important. So that stuff is down there if you want to help the family through this horrible situation. Wrestling lost a good one, and it's just not fucking fair at all. So anyway, just wanted to tribute and pay homage to Shad Gaspard to open up this podcast, because it was extremely sad. Speaking of sadness, if you guys haven't checked it out yet, my Dark Side of the Ring, the Final Days of Owen Hart review, is up on the channel as well. I put that up on Wednesday morning. It's gotten really good feedback so far, so if you want my kind of full thoughts on the final season finale of Dark Side of the Ring, you can check that out now. I also buddied it up on the playlist with the Chris Benoit episode that I did way back in the beginning of the season. So those are both available on the channel right now if you want to check those out. And I think that's all I have as far as videos and plugs and things of that nature. I do want to, guys, sound like Vince McMahon. I do want to shout out my Patreon homies, of course. As always, big thank you to Alex Reynolds, Barry MK400, Big Mike's Wrestling Recap, Blake Moran, Brandon Yelverton, Claudio Clavedetcher, Domanian Elwell Sr., Daniel Rodriguez, Devlin Husband, I know you're here, Jimmy Anderson, Jordan Carg, John Riffle, John Rediford, Josiah Blevins, K-Dogs Kennel, Keith Salyers, Michael Cuomo, Michael Tong, I owe you a message, Mr. Steve, Nathan Walker, Nick Musser, Reese Jones, Ryan Y, Scott Moss, Scotty Kira, Steve Myers, and the Double Z TV. Thank you to everybody. I also have a Patreon sponsored video in the works right now, looking for 1 week from today. That is going, I was thinking it was going to be Thursday, but I think 1 week today is better in terms of like what else is coming out wrestling wise. So I'm sorry, 1 week from Sunday, excuse me. So look for that on the channel next weekend, and that will be a fun Sunday night and a really wacky video to do, courtesy of Glenn from Patreon. So that's all what's coming to the channel this week and for the rest of the month. It's been busy. But as far as what we're going to get into tonight, like I said, this podcast is going to be all over the place because it's going to be really primarily heavily focused on the end, which is predictions for Double or Nothing. But SmackDown just ended like 5 minutes ago. So I feel like we're going to start with SmackDown. I'm just going to touch on Raw. We'll gloss over the Wednesday Night Wars, and we'll finish everything off with Double or Nothing. That's going to be the menu for this evening, as my neighbors are being very loud. Hey, shut up. Anyway, let me go in here to the Super Chats and knock a couple of these out just before we get going here, so you guys don't think I'm ignoring you. And Devil and Husband, no, SmackDown was not bad. We're going to open up here and talk about that in a second, and I thought it was a pretty good show, to be honest with you. I mean, they're hit or miss. They really are. And we've had some Raws and SmackDowns that have been absolute balls fuck torture. And then some that are like, wasn't too bad. And I think like tonight was one of those nights. We had some big matches. I mean, we had Charlotte and Bayley. We had AJ and Shinsuke Nakamura. We had Sheamus and Jeff Hardy. We had the mixed tag that's been brewing for a while. So there were things on this show that weren't, necessarily that bad. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Like I said, I want to knock out a couple of these super chats. Taylor Moyes, thank you very much. Appreciate you. I think you sent that one in before I even went live. What are your thoughts on all of these roll-up pin wins? We did have a couple tonight on SmackDown, didn't we? I know Bayley and Charlotte ended that way, and Sheamus and Jeff Hardy ended that way. And I think that was it. But yeah, we had 2 tonight, at least. WWE doesn't seem like they're really going all in on the creative these days when it comes to some of these shows. But it is what it is. George Morris, thank you, man, for the $2. Appreciate it. I am doing great. Very, very great. Hope you guys are as well. The world is starting to come back to life. Me personally, my restaurant, we are starting to reopen. We reopened today. Luckily, I do go in tomorrow, but only for a few hours. I'll be off before the pay-per-view starts, and I do the same thing on Sunday. But we are slowly kind of creeping back in. We got all sorts of restrictions, and it's going to be a clusterfuck and a nightmare for a little while as we dip our toes into the water and slowly ease back into normal life. But it's what we have to do at the restaurant, the procedures, and how everything has changed. It's basically like relearning a whole new job. So it is a little strange with all the stuff that we have to kind of keep an eye on. And there's no more autopilot for me at my job where I could just flip on a switch, go to work, get it done, come home. Requires a little bit more thinking now that we're reopening and getting back into life here. So it sucks. What a pain in the ass this pandemic has been. But George, I appreciate it. Andrew Park, thank you very much for the super chat. No comment there, but I always appreciate you stopping by. Another one from George. I just found out I have skin cancer. Be safe, man. George, I am sorry to hear that, man. I'm very sorry to hear that. I'm hoping that it's that it's treatable. Yeah. Let us know if you need any help, man. Good luck. Jesus, that's horrible news. A Level, good to see you in here again, man. Thank you very much. Very generous super chat of $25. I appreciate it. What's up, Greg? Hope all is well. Love the Owen Hart Dark Side review. R.I.P. Shad. Yeah, well, I appreciate it. The Owen Hart review has been getting pretty good feedback so far. Tragic week, man. We had to dig up all those old Owen Hart wounds, and then we have to talk about Shad Gaspard on top of it, which is just a kick to the dick is all that was. And just horrible, just life ain't fair. You know what I mean? All right. I think that catches everything up for now. Pretty low audience in here right now of about 100 people. But if you guys could do me a favor and smash that little up thumbs, I would definitely appreciate it. Let's jump into SmackDown real quick, kind of knock this out, and then we'll, kind of reverse track and go back to the earlier part of the week. But I figured we'd start with SmackDown since it literally just went off the air. The show opened up with the dirt sheet. It is always kind of cool to still hear Howard Finkel's voice announce them. Miz and Morrison are in the ring. They're talking shit. There's some creepy-ass LSD trip puppet show going on the screen where one of the sock puppets is like shitting out its mouth. Don't even know what that's about. Seems like typical Vince McMahon poo-poo humor to me. Funny, but what the fuck. Braun Strowman winds up coming out. John Morrison just does all sorts of trash talking and winds up getting the Miz stuck in a match with Braun Strowman. So they open up the show one-on-one. Strowman beats The Miz rather handily with the power slam. Pretty much a squash. After the match, I was wondering where all this was leading, because after the match, Morrison gets on the mic and he's like, yeah, you beat The Miz or something, but, there's no way you could beat the both of us at the same time. So we hereby challenge you to a match, handicap match, 2-on-1 at Backlash for the Universal title. And Strowman's like, all right, no problem. So that's going to be your match. It seems like this is a holding pattern, time-killing type of thing for Strowman until he either resumes things with Bray Wyatt, or he maybe moves on to another opponent heading into SummerSlam. Don't know. With the Miz and Morrison type thing, this doesn't seem like it's a feud that's going to last a long time. This is going to be a one-off, I would think. I can't see the Miz and Morrison pulling off the upset here and then being co-champions. We don't even want that shit. I'm no fan of Braun Strowman really as the champion, but that seems like it would make even less sense right now and not what we need. So I'm sure Strowman will defeat both of them. Maybe we'll get an appearance by The Fiend in the match. Maybe after the match, The Fiend appears and attacks Braun Strowman, and that's going to set up your next pay-per-view match. And there's still a chance that, maybe Bray Wyatt could get the belt back, although I don't know if they want to do that to themselves, and then they're just going to have to beat him in a shitty way to take it off of him. But I don't know. I don't know really what the future holds for Strowman after this. It seems like he's definitely going to be moving on. So anyway, later on in the show, that match would actually become official because I guess they had to have it approved or whatever. So what the fuck? Speaking of things that deserve to be in air quotes, AJ Styles has been traded from Raw to SmackDown. So he's back. The house that AJ Styles built, he's back in his own house, which is good. If you build your own house, you should be able to fucking live in it, right? So he's back. And it's no big deal because they have him in the Intercontinental title tournament and he's facing Shinsuke Nakamura on the show, which we know, it ain't going to be Wrestle Kingdom or anything, but it's going to be damn good. And it's for a championship, or at least a tournament match. So that is fine. But I mentioned this last week when this was announced, when AJ was announced for the tournament. I'm like, to me, he's either winning it or at least getting to the finals because they wouldn't bring AJ over to SmackDown when you've got Cesaro there. You've got a lot of other guys that you could have just put in that tournament. If they were going to lose anyway, I don't know why you would even bring AJ over to be in it just to lose it. That would make no sense. So now that he's traded there, he's definitely going to make it to the finals. I can't see Elias beating him next week. You got to have AJ in the finals because no matter who he faces is going to be fun as hell. Because on the other side, you got Daniel Bryan and Jeff Hardy in the semifinals over there. So if AJ gets past Elias, we're guaranteed to have a pretty sweet-ass Intercontinental title tournament final no matter what. So I don't mind that, but it's just how WWE tries to explain this bullshit. Shout out to Sean Ross Sapp, who seems as frustrated as me about these bullshit rules. He tweeted out right after this. So get this. Since the draft, Brock Lesnar has just left SmackDown. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross were traded for future considerations. Apollo was moved to Raw because of that. What did they say? The draft picks were set to expire or whatever. And now AJ has been traded to Raw for a future star, which will probably turn out to be nobody because they don't follow through with shit. And they don't have any idea of the definition of the word continuity at all. So it's kind of annoying the way they just pull this stuff out of their ass. Now, there has been some talk that Fox wants certain stars. I don't know how much to really believe that, unless they're watching Raw, like, hey, we want him, and they make a request, hey, can you get that guy over here? Which makes all the situation more frustrating because if that is the case and a Fox executive says, hey, can you move him over here? We'd like to see. I mean, they're all in Orlando. It doesn't matter which show they're on. So, if Fox wants somebody, WWE is going to do it, but it's how they explain it on TV that just, it doesn't do any good for the audience. It doesn't explain anything. It doesn't make it easier to understand at all. I'd rather them just be a little bit honest. And I said that a couple of weeks ago last week when they first made this brand-to-brand invitational bullshit. I'm like, if they just were to come out there and say, look, in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic, all of our superstars are right here under the same roof in Orlando, and we want to provide you, the audience, with the best possible one-on-one matchups possible. So we feel like, utilization of the entire roster across both shows will be the most beneficial for the audience. That's literally all they had to say. One fucking paragraph. And if they would have said that, I'm like, it makes a lot of sense. I'm glad they're doing that. But instead, they do this shit and they come up with these dumb rules. It's just annoying more than anything else. Not harmful or anything. It's just annoying. So anyway, AJ's back on SmackDown. He takes on Shinsuke Nakamura, and you know what? A damn good match. Real good match. In the end, AJ does win with a phenomenal forearm, but that's a match. Unfortunately, it's in an empty arena, but still pretty awesome. AJ and Nakamura on free TV, on Fox, whatever. So AJ is advanced, and he will face Elias in the semifinals next week. Next up after that, we get Charlotte taking on Bayley. Another really good match. Easily the best women's match of the week, I think. And that includes NXT and definitely includes AEW. I like this one. And we got a shocking outcome, too. First of all, Bayley's been pretty funny. I kind of like the way she just kind of talks smack a little bit in the middle of the matches. She's pretty funny because with no audience, you can hear her. And it was funny when she was like using the ropes for leverage and then the ref stops her and she's like, I was just testing you. She's great. So I kind of thought, because Charlotte is Charlotte and everybody's like, oh, she wins all the time and all this, I thought this was going to be another one of those situations where one of two things were either going to happen. Charlotte was either going to win or it was just going to be a disqualification or some bullshit like that. Certainly Bayley's not going to beat Charlotte, right? But she did, and she beat her with the Honky Tonk Man and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat Intercontinental title match finisher from 1987. Same thing. Steamboat goes for a small package. Honky grabs the ropes, reverses it, holds him down. Referee doesn't see it. 1, 2, 3. Bayley essentially does the same thing to Charlotte here and kind of steals a win. And I was surprised by that pleasantly, that she won, because prior to the match, she also instructed her girl Sasha to stay behind. I don't need you out there. This always happens. Every single time there's an alliance and there's a rift in that alliance or there's some underlying tension there, every time there's a match and every time they have to say, hang back. Didn't we just see this like literally 2 weeks ago, right? So same thing here, but this time Bayley makes good on it, and in the back they kind of, make up. Bayley is like, yeah, and Sasha congratulates her and they hug and all that, and Bayley's very happy. So anyway, Bayley scores a big win over Charlotte, and I like that. Charlotte's on all the shows right now. She's literally on all three. She was on Raw last week, right? And then she was on NXT, of course, closing the show on Wednesday. And here she has a champion versus champion match against Bayley. It's a whole lot of Charlotte, and I've been talking about that lately. I don't mind. I set my limits for WWE. I said 6 shows a month. As long as she's on NXT, or as long as she's NXT champion, she needs to be on TV every Wednesday. And if you want to put her on 2 Raws a month, I will allow that. I told WWE I'll allow it, but no more than that. And boy, did WWE do the opposite. Now they're putting her on all 3 shows and said, fuck you, Greg. Here you go. Here's 3 doses of Charlotte. Enjoy. Next up, we had the mixed tag. This was, I thought, something they would say for pay-per-view. I did. I thought this would be a backlash type of thing, but we had Sonya and Dolph Ziggler taking on Mandy Rose and Otis, and Dolph and Sonya got the win. Sonya was beating down Mandy pretty good in the ring. She was able to pin her while Dolph held off Otis on the outside of the ring. After the match, as Otis is tending to Mandy, he eats a super kick, and clearly this issue isn't over, and I don't know what it's going to lead to at the next pay-per-view, if anything. I'm hoping that it's not. It might be something like Otis and Dolph for the briefcase or something. I don't know. God, what if they did something like Dolph, I don't know, I don't want to say kidnapped Mandy, or maybe Sonya did, and threatened to do something to her if Otis didn't give the briefcase to Dolph Ziggler or something like that. And then he's like, okay. And then it turns out that Mandy was screwing over Otis and she's really with Dolph. And then after they trick Otis into giving away the briefcase, Mandy and Dolph start making out or something. I don't know. Something like that I feel like is still on the horizon here, because now that they've done this match, I don't know where you go next. So we'll see. Something's going to happen at Backlash, I'm sure. And to close out the show, we had Sheamus taking on Jeff Hardy in the Intercontinental title tournament. This was all Sheamus, 90% of the match. Hardy's resilient as hell. He's kicking out of everything. In the end, he's able to score kind of a quick roll-up again, like we talked about, over Sheamus and get a pin, surprising him. And Hardy now advances to take on Daniel Bryan. That is going to be a sweetheart of a match next week. I'm into that. Sure would be nice to have fans, but Bryan and Hardy is sexy. I think if I had my choice, I would pick Daniel Bryan, but based on Hardy coming back, and like Sheamus said tonight on Smackdown, they've been putting him over for 4 weeks in promos and everything and making such a huge deal about his second chance and all of that. I kind of feel like Hardy's got the momentum, and it'll probably be him beating Daniel Bryan. And Hardy and AJ is still good, but I think I'd prefer AJ and Daniel. I just would. But anyway, either way, it ain't going to be a bad final, so I need to stop my bitching. Before we circle back to Raw real quick, which I'm only going to talk about a couple of things, I'll knock out a couple of more super dupers. There's Enrique Cardona again, hitting me up with a huge one. Appreciate it, man. Greetings again. Dark Side of the Ring, AEW, and COVID-19 is making me dislike towards, and I don't want that. Dislike towards what? Wrestling? AEW's doing that to you? Maybe you just mean the sadness. Yeah, and then the COVID and the dark side of the ring and all the other horrible things that have happened this year. It ain't easy, man. But good to see you again, Enrique, as always. Did I miss one more? Chris Miner, thank you, brother, for the $5. Hi, Greg. I hope all is well. Currently binging the In Your Houses. Currently on Beware of Dog. I have a lot of fond memories of that one. Good shows to distract me from Vanguard 1's death. I hear you, man. And I am planning, I just haven't had a date yet. I'm doing my Patreon video this week, and then after that, sometime between now and June 7th, which is still a ways off, about 2 weeks, I want to come up here and do a best of In Your House live stream, where we'll just come up here and talk about all of the greatest In Your House matches and some moments, and I'll probably touch on like each pay-per-view, in the early days, because I have fond memories of all of them. And I remember Beware of Dog because I lived in North Carolina and that one took place in South Carolina, and the fucking a storm went through and knocked out the power. And I'll never forget that because I purchased that and, nobody got refunds or anything. Instead, WWE ran Beware of Dog 2. And that was where they redid the casket match. And that was when the $1 Million Man left WWE. So that was a crazy kind of In Your House. And it kind of sucked that the weather happened. It's the first time really I can think about that happened to where something got shut down due to weather, at least in the WWE. So yeah, that was kind of a good one. They had the schmaz finish with Davey Boy and Shawn as well, which led to their King of the Ring 96 match, which is actually a really good match and I have fond memories of. So yeah, those were good times, man. 96 was a good time. I have fond memories of that year. But anyway, we'll talk more about that on the In Your House live stream once I figure out the date on that. And yeah, that's that. Moving on to Raw now. Also, guys, do me a favor, keep smashing that thumber upper for me. Let's just touch on a couple things about Raw. If you want to hear my full review on Monday Night Raw, I was up here last week, as I am every Monday, doing a review of Raw. Only thing to really mention there, Austin Theory has jumped ship from Zelina Vega's faction over to Seth Rollins. Kevin Owens is back on TV now with the Kevin Owens Show returning. We had Edge accepting Orton's challenge for the greatest wrestling match ever. WWE, way to listen to the fans' concerns. I think the fans have legitimate, and they definitely have legitimate concerns about WWE's insistence on this tagline. They are making a huge deal about the greatest wrestling match ever, and I think they should listen to some of the fans who have kind of a good point that you are really painting these guys into a corner doing this when you're saying the greatest wrestling match ever, when there's a really good chance it won't even be the greatest wrestling match in 7 days, with all of the other good wrestling that we see on a weekly basis these days, especially from an in-ring standpoint. So instead of listening to the fans and WWE saying, the fans are going to tear this greatest wrestling match ever concept apart, no, they'll just triple down on it instead and hammer it down our throats. So I don't think they're doing Edge and Randy Orton any favors with this tagline. It just seems really stupid and really in your face, and why they're harping on it so much, I have no idea. But who knows? We'll see. Hopefully it'll be better than the WrestleMania match, which some feel drug out and went long and shit like that. We'll see what they can do inside the ropes again. And if nothing else, I can't wait to see Edge kind of back in there moving around. I just wish WWE didn't put the pressure on him of having the greatest wrestling match ever. It's just fucking stupid. And also, it does look like Asuka and Nia Jax will be your match for Backlash. And I'm actually okay with that because I didn't want to see Asuka be a transitional champion for Shayna. I think Shayna's going to get that belt. She kind of got upset by Becky Lynch. It felt like that's the direction they were going to go in. Becky got pregnant. Asuka had the briefcase. Now she's champion. I don't want to see her go right into Backlash, face Shayna Baszler, and drop the title. So I think Nia Jax is somebody that Asuka's going to beat. I can't remember who it was today, but I don't remember who it was. It was during Smackdown. I was reading tweets and somebody had said, Nia's going to win, right? I'm like, no, I don't know that. I don't think she is. I know everybody thinks that WWE just loves to disappoint the audience, and that's true sometimes, but having Nia win here would be fucking stupid, because if the plan is for Shayna, then you're going to do heel and heel, which there's no rules against that. I just don't think that makes the best matchup unless you're going to move Shayna babyface and she just beats the shit out of Nia Jax or something. I think WWE is actually honoring Asuka with a little bit of a run before they snatch the belt off of her. And they're not using her as a transitional champion, and they're not hot potatoing the title, and they're going to give her maybe a couple of opponents to beat first before she maybe gets to SummerSlam, because that's the match I'd set up for SummerSlam, Asuka and Shayna Baszler. That's money. And in the meantime, Asuka should just remain champion. So I don't think it's obvious at all that Nia Jax is going to win if this match is made official, which I'm pretty sure it will be on Monday. So I'm not worried about Asuka dropping the belt yet. I think she needs somebody to beat first before we start talking about dropping the belt. So that's all I really wanted to mention on Monday Night Raw. Thank you again. Okay, I got you, Enrique. Thank you for that, man. Towards WWE. Oh, yeah. Oh, I get it. It's hard to listen to that, stuff on the Owen Hart episode because, it's hard to not want to think WWE's a bunch of shitheads, so it's in a lot of these Vice documentaries and things that we've heard and stories over the years have made us feel that way about WWE. It's just, whether or not you choose to ignore it or not. But that's a whole nother live stream we could get into one day. Good to see you, K-Dogs Kennel. Appreciate you again. Awesome Patreon supporter. Thanks for the $5. Just wanted to show my continued support. Well, I appreciate that. Which King of the Ring winner do you think benefited more from winning the tournament, Bret Hart or Stone Cold? Stone Cold. Bret was already there. Bret was already on top. He was already world champion. That tournament was designed and created to give Bret Hart something to win. I am 1,000,000% convinced of that. Because Bret, he's got an ego too. And Hogan was back and he took that belt away from Bret and Bret was bitter as fuck. And then, the SummerSlam match was supposed to happen. And I think WWE wanted to kind of keep Bret happy and let him know that, hey, we haven't forgotten about you, but we're doing this right now kind of thing. So I think Bret was going to find his way. The fans were going to voice Bret back to the title. Like, basically, if the King of the Ring in 93 wouldn't have existed, I still think Bret would have made it back to the title at WrestleMania 10 in Madison Square Garden. Does that make sense? Where Austin was completely different. And I just talked about King of the Ring 96 a minute ago with Austin, with Michaels and Bulldog. And that promo by Austin, he was a different person. He came into that pay-per-view a completely different person than he left it. Because that promo put him on the map, and next thing you know, he was a big deal. So, yeah, I'm gonna go Stone Cold. Buy on him for sure. Let's talk a little bit about NXT now, and then we'll finish up with AEW, and then we'll predict Double or Nothing. And all right, Friday night streams bringing in a pretty low audience after big audience numbers earlier on in the week. Well, we'll see what happens at the end of this. NXT this week, they got crushed pretty hard in the ratings. This is a pretty solid win by AEW. 701,000 for AEW and 592 for NXT, despite Charlotte being involved in the main event. The show opens up with a Karrion Kross squash match. I'm never going to get tired of watching that entrance. That is just mind-blowing stuff. He wins rather easily, of course, like his last couple of matches have been, or at least his debut match was. And that's when Tommaso Ciampa comes out. Now, we knew because Karrion Kross came onto the scene attacking him that was likely going to be the first opponent, the first big, credible opponent for Karrion Kross. And I like this. This is going to be really fun. Tommaso comes out, challenges Karrion Kross at In Your House. I believe that was accepted, if I'm not mistaken. And that's pretty much going to be set. And I'm excited for this because Tommaso can fucking work, and we know what Karrion can do. And Tommaso has already been champion. He's been a big part of NXT. He's one of their top guys. And that's what makes me think that in this match at In Your House, not only is Karrion Kross going to win, but he's going to win decisively. Now, it's not going to be a squash. I seriously don't think it's going to be a squash, but I think WWE, based on how they're treating him, with his entrance and all of the investment that it seems like has been going into this presentation, I think he needs to have a win that says, holy fuck, this guy is not playing around. And Tommaso Ciampa has done some amazing things, and he's a pretty tough bastard and a workhorse type of guy. And if Karrion puts him down in 6 minutes, like I said, not a squash, but, puts him down to where Morrow can say, I've never seen anybody manhandle Tommaso Ciampa like that. I think that's what Ciampa needs to be utilized for right now. I mean, he's got the chance here to really help elevate Karrion Kross, especially if it's a really hard victory, 1, 2, 3 in the middle of the ring in short order. Tommaso fights back, gives Karrion Kross a run for his money, shows him that he's, a credible opponent, but in the end, Karrion Kross puts him down hard and stands tall. So that's what I kind of think they should do. And I love Tommaso. I don't want to see him lose, but I think it's going to be a strong win for Karrion, where you're like, holy crap, he made pretty quick work out of an NXT legend, and that's impressive. So I think that's what's going to be in store for us at In Your House, and I'm just excited to see the match. I think it's going to be a really interesting looking match in the ring. The Cruiserweight title tournament resumes as Phantasma defeats Akira Tozawa in this. The Lucha Kidnappers were back later on in the show. They tried to abduct Tozawa. They tried to close off Phantasma in his car. They were unsuccessful again. So sometimes they're successful, sometimes they're not. I still have a feeling Phantasma is behind this or something like that. And he is going to be, I think he's in the finals now of the tournament. And he'll face the winner of the triple threat next week, which we'll talk about in a minute. Pretty cool personality profile for Shotzi Blackheart on the Tank, talking about her life and her punk roots and shit like that. I kind of like stuff like that. Sometimes, again, it's hit or miss. This one was okay. But for a lot of people that were familiar with her from the indies and stuff, I thought something like this was a really good idea and something that they should do more of. And we've seen a lot of that, in the face of these, empty arena matches and stuff. We had another big match being set up, apparently, the table being set for it, one of two matches anyway. We had Mia Yim taking on Santana Garrett. She beats her rather easily. Always great to see Santana Garrett on TV. After the match, the Garganos come out. Johnny and Candice interrupt. They attempt to hit the ring. Keith Lee comes out to make the save and run them off. So I think we're either going to get Keith Lee versus Johnny Gargano for the North American title, or we're going to get a mixed tag with Gargano and Candice against Lee and Mia Yim. Or we're going to get both. With Johnny Gargano now being a heel, I think even though he's only the size of Keith Lee's leg, I think maybe he could be the one to take the North American title off of Keith Lee, especially if you get the ladies involved, because WWE wants to keep Keith Lee strong. So if you get Mia Yim involved and you get Candice out there in a one-on-one match and they're both interfering like crazy and Gargano's able to pull a fast one somehow and get some sort of crazy victory over Keith Lee, and then he can be the North American champion as a heel going forward, I think they might go in that direction eventually. But in terms of In Your House, I don't know what they're going to do yet, mixed tag or one-on-one, who knows, but they're definitely setting up for something there. Maybe the mixed tag on TV and the one-on-one match for the title at the pay-per-view, just an idea. Pretty surprising outcome too in the Roderick Strong versus Dexter Lumis match. I thought Dexter was going to be just kind of put over anybody he's in the ring with right now, at least for a while. But Roderick beat him pretty much clean. I think it was another kind of a roll-up pin there, kind of surprising. But Lumis kind of no sells the whole thing. After the match, Roderick is outside of the ring celebrating. Lumis crawls up to him, grabs him over the ropes and starts choking him out. And he gets him on the floor and he's choking him, and the Undisputed Era run out there and they're kicking and punching and trying to get Lumis off of Roderick, but he will just not let go, kind of this blank stare on his face. Velveteen Dream then comes out to run everybody off, and this was weird here. He takes this crazy bump onto Adam Cole. It was Purple Rainmaker from the top rope over the barricade onto the floor, but the way it was shot looked edited as hell to me. You see him jumping off the top rope, and then there's a quick cut to the ground where he lands. So I feel like they could have, because I don't know if that was live on Wednesday or not. I don't think it was. I even watched it back here on the YouTube clip, so maybe it was edited on YouTube. I don't know. But it looked to me like he dove off and probably could have landed on a crash pad, and then he probably just jumped off a chair to land on Adam Cole, and they mashed the two together and made it look like a pretty big bump. Because if that was not edited, that was a pretty huge bump to take for an arena-less match, like nobody in the arena to react to a bump that risky. I kind of think it was an unnecessary risk to take, which is why I think they might have edited that. Just my suspicions. We had Timothy Thatcher and Matt Riddle calling each other out during the course of the show. They are setting up a submission-only or knockouts-only cage fight next week. Now, there's going to be, I think Thatcher initially made the challenge to Riddle. Riddle accepted and upped the ante a little bit by proposing this cage idea. I'm hoping it could be the return of the Lion's Den. Do they still have that thing? Is it still in the warehouse? Can they put that together? Can they snap that Lego set together and make it a Lion's Den match next week in the Octagon? Maybe. We'll see. I'm surprised, again, they weren't saving that for In Your House. They're actually going to do that next week, so maybe they have something else planned for In Your House. Maybe we can get Pete Dunne back involved at some point whenever that situation resolves itself. We don't know, but should be interesting to see what kind of a match we get between those two next week, and it should be brutal. I don't know about you guys, but I am just convinced that Drake Maverick has been rehired and nobody's saying anything. They're continuing on his, road to redemption here after being released, but he's still in this tournament. He took on Kushida and defeated him. Kushida was 2-0, I believe, prior to this match. Drake started out 0-1 and is now came roaring back here. And after the match, there was an announcement made by William Regal that I think Saxton made, or Morrow. I think it was Saxton or Phillips. Who the hell was on commentary? Pretty sure it was Saxton. Can't remember. Anyway, there was a triple threat match made by William Regal next week, since Kushida, Drake, and Atlas are all 2-1. He's going to put them in a triple threat. The winner of that will take on Phantasma, and the winner of that's the champion. That's the way I understand it. And then as soon as that champion is crowned, who knows, Jordan Devlin might be back, and we're going to have both of those belts hanging up over the ring in a ladder match sometime in the future. We also had Damian Priest and Finn Balor. That was made official for TakeOver as well, so they'll do battle at In Your House. That'll be pretty good, I think. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. And finally, in the main event, we had Io Shirai taking on Rhea Ripley. Big surprise here. We knew where this was going. We've been talking about it for the past 2 weeks with the whole Charlotte, Rhea Ripley, Io Shirai situation. We had our suspicions that since Io and Charlotte kind of ended in a DQ, that they might try to do a triple threat to get the belt off of Charlotte so she doesn't have to take a clean pin and maybe not even get pinned at all. And that appears to be the case here. These ladies had a pretty good match, but Charlotte is lurking around at ringside. She eventually jumps into the ring, which we knew. I did not think we were going to get a finish here out of Ripley and Io. And Charlotte jumped in the ring, attacked them both, and she stood tall as the show goes off the air. And then it was made official, I think, a day or two later on social media that match is now set. Triple threat at In Your House for the NXT Women's title. Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley versus Io Shirai. You saw this coming 2 weeks ago. I'm going to try to be a little bit more optimistic here. I mean, we did see Charlotte take a pin tonight on SmackDown, and I know the majority of the fans are automatically going to look at this match in a cynical way and say, oh, of course, WWE is going to probably put the belt back with Rhea, but now Charlotte's going to have to lose, or not going to have to lose, and she can just pin Io Shirai instead. That's likely going to happen, but maybe there's still a chance that Charlotte does take the pin. You know, triple threats are unpredictable. There's a lot going on. I think technically Charlotte could be in a situation where she was pinned and still protected kind of thing. If you're going to put the belt back on Rhea Ripley, I would hate for her to have to lose to Charlotte clean one-on-one, get the belt back, but really, you know, she doesn't have any sort of redemption because she didn't even beat fucking Charlotte. So if you're going to do a triple threat, maybe at least have Charlotte take the pin. Something crazy can happen. You know, it can be a weird thing where Charlotte can claim it's a fluke. I don't care. But just don't go the predictable route here and just have Io Shirai lose, and that's that. The only way I'd be okay with that is if it still led to one more one-on-one between Ripley and Charlotte. That would be fine. If Ripley wins the belt by pinning Io Shirai in the triple threat, Charlotte then gets pissed. You didn't beat me. I'm still the champion. How about we face off one-on-one, winner take all for the title? Then you do one more match and Rhea gets her win back, retaining the title instead of winning it back. That I'd also be okay with. So in order for Ripley to win this belt without pinning Charlotte, it's got to lead to one more blow-off one-on-one between the two. If not, I don't know. I'm going to be iffy about it. So anyway, overall, NXT was a good show, but I picked them to win. I picked them as the better show last week. I'm almost certain. I can barely remember my memory. But pretty sure I did prefer NXT last week. That wasn't the case this week. I think AEW had a phenomenal go-home show. They really sold the pay-per-view well. I mean, it's sad. Double or Nothing is supposed to be in Vegas. Double or Nothing is supposed to be a great time. I got to plop down $50 for this thing tomorrow on pay-per-view to watch it in an empty arena in a football stadium. But that's life. And I think despite all of that, the card looks good, and they did a great job of building this on Wednesday. We're not going to spend too much time on it because this entire podcast is going to be obsolete in just a few hours because we have the pay-per-view coming up tomorrow. But we'll talk about a little bit of what went on here. Jon Moxley opened up the show taking on 10 from the Dark Order. Now, I have a feeling that this 10 kid, he's got a pretty good physique. I don't know his real name, whoever's under that mask. I kind of have a feeling that he's going to unmask, become a babyface, and be a part of the roster because he continually gets sacrificed by Brody Lee. This was no different. Moxley won with a paradigm shift, and then he threatened to injure him with the chair if Brody Lee didn't come out there with his belt or whatever, and Brody chooses not to and basically sacrifices 10 to Moxley, and he makes good on his word and hits him with the chair, and that's that. And poor number 10 has just been shit on there by his Dark Order superiors. So I think that kid might turn back or turn babyface at some point in the future. We had MJF taking on Marko Stunt. This is kind of a mismatch here. MJF bullied the shit out of Marko throughout the whole match. Still a good match. Marko, all 48 pounds of him, can fucking go. He's quick as hell in that ring. So he did his stuff in there, but at the same time, MJF was just a huge raging asshole in this match. Eventually makes little Marko tap out. Continues the assault until Jurassic Express comes out there to make the save. And of course, we've got MJF and Jungle Boy coming up tomorrow. I loved the Jake the Snake and Arn Anderson promo. And how the hell have we never gotten this match? They've both been in territories together. They've probably been in 3 separate territories at the same time together. Probably Georgia, NWA, and WWE. And they never faced each other. WWE would have been hard because Arn was a tag guy, unless they faced in some 6-mans or something like that. I don't really know. But that's a shame that we never got that. And it was pretty cool to see these old 2 farts in there cutting a promo on each other. And it was good stuff. Really good stuff. Now, they teased the hell out of a lot of stuff in the TNT Championship match tomorrow. And I think there's going to be all sorts of stuff going on. You got Arn out there. You got Jake out there. Both of these guys are teasing that they can beat the shit out of each other. You've got Mike Tyson, who they've said more than once on AEW is likely to get involved in that as well. You've got Brandy that's going to be around. She needs a little bit of revenge on Jake the Snake Roberts. Who knows what we're going to see in this match? It's going to be fun. And I'm actually now, based on that promo on Wednesday, I'm looking a lot more forward to Cody and Lance than I was before. And I've got an interesting prediction on that in a minute. Really good to see Pac back. He had a promo on AEW. It looks like he'll be back on the scene too. Really missed him in AEW because, they don't have the biggest roster to begin with, and Pac is a stud and he is needed. So I'm glad that he's back, and I'm hoping, I don't know where he is. I have no idea his situation. I don't know if he's overseas or if he's here or whatever, but if he's available, I'd like to see him maybe be the mystery guy in the Casino Battle Royal tomorrow. Either him or Rusev, and we'll talk about that, of course, in just a minute. Ray Phoenix took on Orange Cassidy, kind of a match set up last week when Orange Cassidy got his head kicked clear off his shoulders by Ray Phoenix. This time Phoenix attempts it again, but Cassidy just kind of casually gets out of the way. Phoenix misses. He seems really upset about the miss too, which is pretty funny. It was a pretty good match. Cassidy continues to show me that he can go. I know a lot of people aren't a big fan of his gimmick and stuff, but to say ignorant things like he shouldn't be in the ring and he's ruining wrestling, bitch, he's more athletic than you. I mean, let me ask you this. What can Drake Maverick do in the ring that Orange Cassidy can't? Aren't they the same size? Can Drake Maverick nip up with both of his fucking hands in his pockets? Cassidy, I like the character because when he wants to turn it on, he can. It's not like he's a joke. He's not Nicholas. He's not a 15-year-old kid that shouldn't be in there. It's not like he's not superhuman, the kid who dives through fucking nails and shit on his YouTube channel all the time. So it's not like he's just a completely untrained, unqualified person. He's really good and really athletic and can work. He showed that in his match with Pac. And in most of the situations, he's not winning these matches either. I can understand maybe the argument if he's beating Chris Jericho for the title, but in a lot of these matches, Orange Cassidy, Marko Stunt, and anybody else that Jim Cornette gets the fans so riled up about, they're completely harmless and they do nothing to the detriment of the show or wrestling or anything like that. Like I said, these guys are not winning titles. We've seen far sillier and far dumber shit throughout all promotions, throughout the entire history of the business. Why these two guys get under the skin of some fans, I have no idea. I think it's a stupid thing to get mad about. And it makes no sense because they're wrestlers and they're better than you. So shut the fuck up. And Cassidy here in this match put up a good fight with Phoenix. And I like kind of when he snaps out of that laid back, type of persona and he goes hard because he can do stuff. In the end, he got beat though, because there was all sorts of distractions. Kip Sabian was out there on a ladder, distracting everybody. And that's when Phoenix got the win. We had SCU coming out. Jimmy Havoc came out. I call him Flex Cabana, Colt Cabana was out there, a whole bunch of guys. And then Ray Phoenix took a very scary fall on the outside of the ring. He attempted to dive on top of everybody. They didn't really catch him. They really weren't in position. They caught him a little bit, but for the most part, he took a hard, flat bump on the floor. Ouch. Hopefully he's okay because he is set for the ladder match tomorrow, and we don't want to lose him. He is a crucial part of that match. So I hope Phoenix is all right. We had a couple of injuries on this show because after that we had the 4-way women's match, which I've been trying to give AEW props when I can about improving the women's division. I have seen improvement. I think Britt Baker's been a lot of fun with her promos and her chemistry with Tony Schiavone and kind of getting her over as that asshole type of heel. Chris Statlander has shown signs of greatness here or there. Hikaru Shida is gaining momentum, but I don't think she's ready yet. So again, I think they're continuing to get better, but they clearly still have their problems, and I felt like this match was kind of clunky. And then there was the spot where Shida and Statlander threw Nyla Rose on top of Britt Baker, landing on her leg or her knee, injuring Britt. She was not the same throughout the rest of that match. The training staff was there checking on her. And I don't know her status for tomorrow. I haven't seen anything negative. Apparently she's going to be all right. And hopefully she'll be good to go for her match with Chris tomorrow. And that wasn't worse than what it looked. So not the best match on the show, but, you know, whatever. The women's division needs work. You can't ignore that. I kind of liked the Shawn Spears SSN news update, although it kind of reminded me of Randy Orton's RNN from back in the day when he had the injury there. But this was pretty funny because he announces and reports that Dustin Rhodes is retired. And oh my God, the line here, my jaw dropped when he said this. What did he say? He said something about, you know, you retiring must have been a tough pill to swallow, but then again, 12 years ago, you didn't have any problems swallowing pills. Yikes. I'm sure Dustin gave the green light to say that, but holy shit. That was pretty funny and disturbing all at the same time. Don't really know how I felt about that, but good stuff. He then goes on to book himself or announce a match with Dustin at Double or Nothing. So in the beginning of the promo, Dustin is retired. By the end of it, he's got a match with Shawn Spears. So I don't even know if Shawn understood what he was saying in that, but still a pretty entertaining segment and something that I think Shawn Spears needed because he came in big, chair shot to Cody, big match, seemed like he was going to be a player and cooled off hard, you know, for a while there. So now this seems to all be coming back. I don't know what the status of Tully Blanchard is, if he's going to be back in the fold when things get back to normal, or if they're going to move Shawn on to something else. At one point, they were teasing a tag team partner for Shawn. It seems like AEW might have just said, nah, fuck it, and they're not going in that direction anymore. But now we've got Shawn and Dustin, at least in a little mini program here, heading into tomorrow. The main event was Matt Hardy taking on Sammy Guevara. A really good match again, and there was a really funny line by Jim Ross in this match, saying Matt Hardy has been wrestling for 27 years and Sammy is 26. I laughed my ass off at that. Sammy Guevara can sell that twist of fate, can he not? I think he sells a twist of fate much like The Rock sells the Stone Cold Stunner in a great way. And in the end here, Sammy is hit with that twist of fate and he does go down. Love the way he sells that. It led to a final ending show brawl out in the football stadium. They kind of cut to the Inner Circle, who've got Kenny Omega kind of pinned up against the goalpost. And you knew, with it being the go-home show, and we haven't seen the Bucks and Paige on TV in weeks and weeks and weeks, you knew they were going to be on this show. So when you see Kenny Omega getting his ass kicked, you know they're going to show up. It's just a matter of how they do it. Bucks appear in the stands wearing their masks, wearing their face masks. They dive off. They join the fray, and this was probably one of the funniest parts of the whole week to me. I don't know why I laughed so hard at this, but as the fight is taking place in the end zone, way off in the distance, you see some dude running like from the sidelines all the way to midfield, and then like basically on the 50-yard line, and then comes running straight towards the camera. It reminded me of the big, what was it, the Great Muta and Hulk Hogan clothesline from the ramp in Japan all the way over the top rope. But instead it was like 50 yards, and Adam Page does a 50-yard dash running and clotheslines and hitting Jake Hager with a huge lariat, hard too, in the end zone, and that's how he joined the fight. That was pretty funny, and in the end I think the Inner Circle retreat and Elite stand tall, and of course we're getting the really bonkers Stampede match tomorrow night, which should be really fun. And if the big brawl that we saw a couple of weeks ago with Sammy Guevara being run over by the golf cart and, you know, the Omega dive and all the crazy shit we saw in that was probably just a sampling and an appetizer to what we're going to see tomorrow. And I would think, based on the strength of the card, that's got to be your main event. I don't even think Moxley and Brody Lee is that strong of a title match. So I think that should close tomorrow. And I think that's going to be fun. I think they've proven to me that they can put on a fun match. And if they were holding back a little bit a couple of weeks ago, testing the waters on what a brawl like this can look like, I'm excited for tomorrow night. So in the end, that's where we stood for Dynamite. And I thought, like I said, it was a really good show, and it did a really good job of promoting the pay-per-view. That's what it's all about, because a lot of times on Raw and SmackDown, when we have a go-home show, it sucked. You come away with it saying, damn, that was the go-home show? Seemed like it sucked to me. Did nothing to make me want to see that pay-per-view, where AEW did a lot here. So props to them for a solid show on Wednesday. They were easily the better show in my opinion. Even though I liked NXT, I think AEW this week had the better show. It's probably an overall, for me, I know the ratings are heavily in AEW's favor overall. WWE's only scored a couple of victories, but in terms of my personal favorites week to week, I don't know the exact count. I'll probably have to go back and review my videos, but I feel like it's a tie. I feel like I've I feel like I've picked half AEW and half NXT shows as far as the ones I like better on Wednesdays. I feel like it's about even there, but this week definitely goes to AEW. Let's now predict Double or Nothing. That was the main point of this entire podcast here. We'll predict the pay-per-view. I'll answer a few more questions at the end, and then we will roll up out of here. And then we're back tomorrow, immediately after the show, for a review. I got to answer a couple of super chats. First, I think I just have one. I'll answer this one first from Michael Cuomo. Good to see you, man. Thank you very much for your support and the $5. Do you have an idea on what Seth's stable could be called? Heard that he'll have another follower member soon. Well, I think his stable is called the Monday Night Messiah, right? Or maybe that's his nickname. I kind of also thought that was the stable name, but I might be wrong. Another member or follower soon, I can see that if that's going to be Seth's journey now, is building his army. I can see him adding another one. Austin Theory is kind of a surprising member. I didn't see that coming last week. I did like that he jumped from one faction to the other, but Austin Theory, given his age, I feel like he might play the role of 10 in AEW, where Seth is going to kind of treat him like shit, maybe sacrifice him a couple of times. He'll, and Buddy Murphy has now been promoted to lieutenant, and now you've got, the new minion, Austin Theory, who's going to have to do all the dirty work for Seth, and I feel like that might be his role. And then if he does add, another player, that could be anybody, and I don't know, I think there's a lot of good options for that as well, but y'all's guess is as good as mine. Good to see you in here, Dan Price. Through your awesome logo that you made me in the thumbnail here tonight. I appreciate that again. Good to see you. Do I have another super? Devlin, good to see you, brother. Thanks for the $5. AEW is failure. Double or Nothing won't compare to Monday Night Raw. I know, man. If only it could be as good as Raw. I hear you, Devlin. But also good to see you, my man from the cruise. And you're going next year. That's going to be awesome, hopefully. Anywho, let's go ahead and predict DON for tomorrow. We've got the buy-in pre-show. This is a tag team number one contenders match with the Best Friends taking on the Private Party. This match to me came out of nowhere. I don't remember seeing it advertised on AEW this week. I just saw it on the website today when I was looking up the card. And we haven't seen Private Party on TV in a while, but we've seen a lot of the Best Friends. So based on that alone, I'm just picking Best Friends here to win. I guess it sets up technically a babyface match with Omega and Page, but who cares? I think that's probably what they're going to do. I think Private Party would be a more fun match. I think Private Party against Omega and Page might be more fun than the Best Friends, but I feel like since the Best Friends have been on TV putting the work in, they should get the victory here. Shawn Spears taking on Dustin Rhodes. I think Shawn's going to beat Dustin here. You got to start building Shawn back up. Dustin is kind of, in putting people over phase of his career. He's had some great matches, most of which have been in a losing effort, but I think Dustin is just doing wonders for them and just being there as a good veteran mainstay to go out there and provide good matches and put guys over. I don't see there being any difference here unless, Dustin pulls off the upset and then it leads to another match that Shawn Spears wins. That could also happen because Rhodes, you got to feel like he's got to get a little bit of retribution for some of the shit that Shawn Spears said about him on Wednesday. So I suppose you could get that Rhodes victory, but I think in the end, I'm picking Shawn Spears to win, provided Britt Baker is okay from the injury that happened on Wednesday night and she takes on Chris Statlander. There's no number one contender thing going on here from what I understand. It's just a straight one-on-one match. I'm going to go Baker. I just feel like you have to. She's the only person that you're really, building as one of your top people on the roster. Statlander I like. Statlander I think has got potential. I think she'll get better. I think she needs, maybe some more seasoning because she's strong as hell too. And I think she'll only get better. But for right now, I just feel like Britt Baker should win that match. So I'm picking Britt. Nyla Rose defending the AEW, women's title against Hikaru Shida. As much as I love Hikaru Shida, and as much as I love that, I also think, much like Statlander and Britt, she's going to be a big part of the roster, and I definitely see her being champion. I think the fans like her. I think she's shown signs of greatness in the ring as well, but Nyla just winning the belt and being such a beast and being so dominant, I can't really see them yanking the title off of her that quick, especially when you think about how long Riho had it. So as much as I like Hikaru Shida, and I think Hikaru Shida will definitely have her day with the title, that day will not be tomorrow. I'm picking Nyla Rose to retain there. MJF taking on Jungle Boy, one-on-one. I like Jungle, but MJF, again, he's got the momentum. He's been on TV. I think he's got more to gain with the victory here. He's got the big win over Cody Rhodes, and he's been doing all that stuff. So continue him rolling here. I think he'll beat Jungle Boy. And that, I think, is going to be where my heels winning ends, if you can believe that. Because next up, we've got the Casino Ladder match. Now, this is a 9-participant match. We've got Kip Sabian, Darby Allin, Colt Cabana, Kaz, Scorpio Sky, Rey Fenix, Orange Cassidy, Luchasaurus, and a mystery participant. So I think I'm going to go with the mystery participant, whoever that is. I think on the very top of my list, it would be Rusev. I would love to see Rusev show up because this is a Casino Ladder match for a title shot. This is number one contenders ladder match here. So there's a lot of good options here. I'd love to see Rey Fenix win. I'd love to see Darby Allin win. All those would be fun choices because they would make a really fun match for Moxley or whoever the champion is. But I kind of feel like if you have a mystery opponent, if it's somebody that's a letdown, then why even have the mystery opponent kind of thing? So it needs to be somebody important. So I think it can either be Pac, which would be great, or Pac. If he shows up, enters the match, wins it. I would love if Pac was the number one contender. Has he faced Moxley yet? I kind of think he has. My memory's hazy. But that wouldn't be a horrible match. Or if it turned out to be Rusev or something, coming in, surprising everybody, winning the match, he's got the title shot now, and then you got to argue, well, it's just another WWE feud for Moxley. He took on Jericho, and then he took on Swagger, now he's taking on Brody Lee, now Rusev, he's working with all his WWE people. I'm sure those people will have those critiques, but I still think it would be awesome to see Rusev come in and win that, a briefcase or whatever the fuck you win. So it'll be for a title shot. And that'll be honestly probably more valuable than if Rusev would have stayed in WWE and won Money in the Bank. To win that instead might be fun. So I'm picking Pac or Rusev or whoever the mystery opponent is. That's who I think will win it, in my opinion. Otherwise, I don't think they'd even have a mystery opponent. Just my idea. We've got Cody Rhodes taking on Lance Archer. I talked about this match a minute ago. This is the finals of the TNT Championship Tournament. And this one, for a while, I had Lance Archer pegged because, he's coming in as such an ass kicker, such a badass. Weeks ago, I kind of thought he would be the one, even if he faced Cody in the finals, which that was looking obvious from the outset that he was targeting Cody Rhodes right from his very first promo with Jake. You definitely thought that was going to be the match. But I've kind of changed my tune now that we have all of these other elements involved, particularly Mike Tyson, because Mike Tyson is set to present the winner, the championship, and they've been teasing so much on TV that he's going to get involved in some way. I just can't see Mike Tyson presenting that belt to Lance Archer. You know what I mean? If AEW is trying to create a big moment that'll go down in their history, I think Cody Rhodes, one of the faces of their company, winning a championship and being presented that championship by, arguably one of the greatest boxers that have ever lived, I think creates a moment that AEW wants for their history. You know what I mean? And I think Cody would be the better recipient than Archer because Cody's going to be with AEW until they are no longer around. That might not be the case for Archer. And when you're crowning your first champ, I'm starting to feel like it's going to be Cody now. Before, I was all cool with Cody doing jobs. He's lost a lot. He dropped that match to Jericho, and he's not allowed to get another title shot again. He lost to MJF. For him to lose again here, it's like, okay, we get it. You're an executive. You don't want to put yourself over. That's admirable. But at the same time, if it makes sense, maybe you should win. And I think here is a case where Cody should win, be the first champion, and he's who I'm picking tomorrow. Plus, you got to remember, Arn is out there. Jake is out there. Brandy, who does owe Jake the Snake a little bit of revenge after what he did with her with a snake and mounting her and all that shit that he did a couple of weeks ago on TV. This has the potential to be really overbooked, but provided they don't go too far, I'm going Cody. I think it'll be fun, and it'll give AEW a nice moment. It'll give them a nice memory with Mike Tyson presenting the belt to Cody in the end. So we're going Cody on that one. Jon Moxley defending the AEW title against Brody Lee. I don't have much to say about this. This feud has had its critics. A lot of people aren't feeling Brody Lee. I can understand that, and I'm in agreement with that. Although I'm not one of the people that are saying, oh, fuck Brody Lee, he's dead. WWE was right for letting him go. See, he's nothing. I'm not one of those people. You got to give, gimmicks a chance to grow and breathe. And Brody has not been in this Exalted One gimmick for very long. And if you ask me, in my opinion, they kind of rushed this. I don't think there was any hurry in putting Brody Lee in a title program with Moxley, especially if you want to continue Moxley rolling with the title, which I think is what's going to happen here because Brody has already stolen the title, and he currently is in possession of it. So I think Moxley's going to put him down and get his revenge and retain the title and get the belt back, and maybe we could see a turn. I mentioned that kid 10. He seems like a really good athletic kid, whatever his name is underneath that mask. He's been sacrificed now at least once, maybe even twice, by Brody Lee. Maybe he does something in the match and defies Brody. Maybe he's out there and Brody instructs him to do something, and he doesn't. And that allows Moxley to hit the paradigm shift and get the win, get his belt back, and then Brody's pissed, at the Dark Order member, and it all becomes about that. That's kind of the finish I would like to see here instead of maybe just a straight Brody Lee defeat because, he should still, I think they should not give up on this. Like, they should continue to try to get this over and try to figure out the identity of this guy because it's been all over the place. At one point, it seemed like Evil Uno was kind of the ringleader here. I haven't even seen that fucking guy since Brody Lee has shown up, so I don't even think they know what exactly is going on here or whatever, but in the end, I think Moxley has got to retain here. And that leads us to our Stadium Stampede main event, at least what I'm thinking will be the main event, the Elite taking on the Inner Circle. This thing's going to be all over the place. I don't know what to predict here in terms of like what we could see because you could see anything. All I can do is predict a winner. And the Inner Circle have been pretty strong on TV. They've had a lot of moments where they've celebrated with their logo on the big screen in the football stadium and all that. We haven't seen the Bucks and Paige around in a while. And I believe, and the Inner Circle won the big brawl a couple of weeks ago on Dynamite, the crazy one there. So I think you got to give the Elite the win here. I don't know how they do it and what kind of finish it's going to be. I'm sure it can be fun. I don't know if Jericho's going to be involved or whatever, but I'm sure it's going to be entertaining. And then in the end, I'm going to pick the Elite and company to win the match there. So it's a pretty good balance, I think, of baby faces and heels. Just to recap, I got Best Friends over the Private Party, Shawn Spears over Dustin Rhodes, Britt Baker over Chris Statlander, Nyla Rose retaining over Hikaru Shida, MJF over Jungle Boy. I've got the mystery opponent winning the Casino Ladder match. I think it might be Pac. I think it might be Rusev. But whoever it is, I think that person will win. Cody Rhodes defeating Lance Archer for the TNT Championship. Moxley retaining over Brody Lee, and the Elite winning the Stadium Stampede. That is your AEW Double or Nothing predictions in a nutshell there. What do you guys think? Agree? De-agree? What do you think? Let me scroll back up here and knock out super duper duper chats. Devlin, I got you, my man. Hopefully I didn't forget anybody else either. Devlin, there's another one from you. $2. Appreciate it. Baker has been replaced by Penelope Ford. Thank you. All right, so what does that change here? I didn't see that. I looked this up today and it still had Britt listed as her opponent. So that must have changed. Because I was smart enough to at least look into that before I wrote it down, and I still saw it listed. So maybe that's new news, or maybe I'm just blind as hell. Okay, so let's change this. Penelope Ford versus Chris Statlander. Well, that changes everything. Penelope and Statlander. Penelope and Stat. I like Penelope. Kip Sabian may or may not be involved in that, depending on the placement of that match. If it happens after the ladder match, he might not be there. If it happens before, he might. Let's go Penelope. Fuck it. Poor Chris Statlander. She was going to lose either way there. And I even think there's a chance she could win, but I got to go Penelope. All right. So Penelope it is. Thank you for that update there, Devlin. It's good to have you guys in here. It was it last week on the podcast or the week before the breaking news of Drew Gulak's release was happening right as we were live, and I was able to get that news from you guys, so I appreciate it. WWE Fan 22, thank you for the $4. When do you think we get the MJF versus Cody rematch? Probably soon if Cody wins the title, because if he does, you know what MJF's going to say. Hey, I got the ring. I already beat you once before. I want you for the title championship match. And then Cody wins and, wins the rematch and retains. That's what I think will happen. I think we'll get MJF and Cody for the title maybe at the next AEW pay-per-view or just on a really beefed up Wednesday night card. One or the other. Ha! Thank you for that, Devlin. Shows you where my mind is at. I'm like, I wonder if Pac and Moxley have ever faced each other. And you're like, they faced each other on the cruise, dude. I do remember that now. I do remember it. I had a lot of beer in me. Thank you for another $3. WWE Fan 22. Could we see Adam Page heel turn? Yes. I should have mentioned that. Now, I do have the Elite winning, but if you want to do a Page heel turn, which at the end of Dynamite, he still didn't really celebrate, I don't think, with the Elite. He kind of walked away. So you could do the turn. The only problem with that is if you do the turn, they're still tag team champions. So I feel like maybe you wait because, they still have to be champions after that. You could do the turn here and then it wouldn't matter, but I don't want to see a turn on the Elite when you're tag team champions because I think AEW is too young. And the championship legacies are too young to start stripping people and having tournaments and shit unless you have to kind of thing. So they'd be forcing themselves into doing that, like either stripping them over the titles or being reluctant partners, which will lead to them losing anyway. Maybe if you do the heel turn, it happens in the tag team championship match. They're going to have to take on the winner of the Best Friends in the Private Party, although that would be a weird place to do it. If you're going to do a heel turn, it should be in a big time moment, pay-per-view moment, and this definitely qualifies. I don't know if it will make Paige a member of the Inner Circle. That might be cool. I mean, I don't know how long Jericho's going to be running with AEW. Maybe, they want another big member in there to take the reins from Jericho if he leaves for a while. I don't know. But whenever they do it, it should be a big deal. So that's a possibility. I think there's a good possibility of that tomorrow, but I'm still sticking with my prediction of the Elite. Could we see Matt Riddle going to SmackDown? Maybe. Looks like he's wrapping up. I mean, he's not tag team champions anymore. He's got the cage fight with Thatcher next week, and considering there's these ridiculous trades and superstars to be renamed later bullshit, I suppose you can easily find a reason to get him on SmackDown. But do we want to ruin Matt Riddle? I don't know if we do. Anywho, all right. So that does it for my notes. Kind of a weak audience in here tonight, but it's Friday night, and this is not my normal time for the podcast, so I'm sure tomorrow we'll have a glorious stream for the Double or Nothing review. Any other questions or stuff I should get into before I sign off here? We kept this podcast pretty short, only about an hour and 15 minutes in. Oh, thank you. 1 hour ago. They just changed. Okay, so that I don't feel stupid now. Right? I would have felt bad if I somehow missed that news all day. But I did look into it, and it had Britt Baker and Chris Statlander, so that must have changed right as I went live here, and that sucks. Does anybody know what's wrong with her? Is she... Oh, there you go, Victor Colon. So if it's 6 to 9 months, she did an ACL thing. I'm guessing. I don't know what other injury that could be, but the way Nyla landed on her, I feel like she might have blown out her knee or something. 6 to 9 months is usually the prognosis for knee surgery. Oh, that's a shame. That sucks, man. Gotta be more careful in there. That wasn't Nyla's fault. That wasn't Baker's fault, but I think Statlander and Hikaru Shida should have been a little bit more mindful of where they were dumping big Nyla there because it did some damage to Britt. That's a shame. Well, luckily, hopefully Britt will be able to continue her practice. I don't know if she can provide dental work on crutches or, with a brace on her leg or what, but she does have that charisma, that speaking ability, that chemistry with people like Tony Schiavone. I can see her having some sort of a presence on TV while she's rehabbing, and in a lot of ways, maybe if it's good for her, at least we're in the middle of a pandemic right now. If you've got to take time off and you've got to be away from wrestling, at least you're away from it at a time when the fans really aren't around. By the time she comes back, we'll probably have fans back, and it could be a whole different looking ball game. So hopefully she is looking at the silver lining here. We wish Britt Baker the best. That's a shame. That's a shame. But I'll look into that story on my own here once I get out of here. Yeah, exactly, Sam. I said the same thing. On the bright side, she can still do promos. She can still have ACL. Yep. She can still have that presence on the show from time to time if they want. Maybe she can do a BNN, a Brit News Network update like Randy Orton did and like Shawn Spears did, and update us on her surgery and her rehab and her health and all of that. You never like to hear that stuff, especially when the women's roster is thin enough as it is right now in AEW. Not a loss that you wanted at this time. That's a shame. That's a shame. Yeah, so anyway, that is probably... Sorry, Dan Price, I didn't mean to insult you guys. I didn't mean you guys specifically are weak. I meant the numbers weak. We should have like 9 million people in here. Instead, we got like less than 200. So that's all I meant by it. I'm always happy to have you guys. How Wheezy, thank you, man, for the $2. Do you think Powers of Pain should be in the Hall of Fame? Maybe. I love Barbarian. He should. And as a team, they stayed together for a while. It wasn't just WWE. They were multiple promotions. But with in the same universe as Demolition and Road Warriors, there was a lot of Road Warrior kind of ripoffs, and I think Powers of Pain, probably even more so than Demolition. I thought, because Powers of Pain had the size. I felt like Warlord was Animal and Barbarian was Hawk. They're very similar athletically. Warlord's kind of the big stiff guy, the powerhouse, and Barbarian can move, where Animal was the powerhouse and Hawk can move. So they're a very similar team. I think they looked and resembled more of the Road Warriors than Demolition did. But fuck, their championship accomplishments aren't nearly as glorious and glamorous as the other two teams. So I don't know. I might say no. I hate to say no. I think Barbarian, though, should be in the Hall of Fame for sure. Because he's just, man, he's a journeyman. He's been everywhere. He still wrestles. Devlin, thanks for $2 more. Rusev should bring back the Russian gimmick in AEW. Yeah, he might. I mean, what's his freaking name? I forgot. What's Rusev's name? I forgot what he's going to be called. Oh, Miro. Okay, that's right. So he's going to show up as Miroslav or whatever the fuck. So we'll see if he gets there and when he gets there. I really hope that he does. I think it'll be funny because he's so entertaining. And I think one of the more frustrating things about Rusev in WWE is WWE's complete refusal to capitalize on how funny he is. When you see things like the Kevin Owens show and Miz TV and shit, it needs to be Rusev TV. He would be great at doing that stuff on a weekly basis. Fuck Moment of Bliss. Give me Moment of Rusev, So I think if he goes to AEW, they will take advantage of that a lot more. He will bring fun things to AEW, and he can do. I'd love to see him interact with Matt Hardy and all sorts of the other crazy shit they have in AEW. I think he can be fun, and I think that he's so funny. I'd almost rather see him have a personality than just be the straight, I am the foreign evil heel and I'm here to destroy you Americans. I don't know. That's a Vince gimmick so much. I don't know if that's something AEW would do because it doesn't capitalize on Rusev's strengths. Anybody can do the Iron Sheik gimmick, like from back in the day. It's been done to death since, the beginning of time. The evil heel from a foreign land, it's been done and done and done and done. And not that it can't still be done. It's just, I think Rusev adds more than that. So it's got to be a good balance, I think, of being fun and being entertaining and being serious at the same time. And that's a line that I think AEW's done a pretty good job of balancing so far in some of their gimmicks. So we'll see. That's another good option. Yeah, we've got the FTR, the Revival, formerly the Revival, still floating around there as well. We know they're going to be showing up in AEW at any time. They could show up and cost the Elite the match. I like it. Hey, we could see that. Does that mean they're Inner Circle members now or what? I could see that too. I would love to see them link up with Jericho. That's an option. Yeah, I think we could see the Revival or Rusev or both or none at the pay-per-view. You just don't know. I'm still sticking with my Elite pick, but I could see Undisputed Era's idea happening for sure. And thank you for another $2 there, WWE fan. When do you think we see the Revival in AEW? Just to ask that, I think as early as tomorrow. If not, maybe as early as this Wednesday. I think they're in a situation where it could literally be any week, so it could be 2 weeks from now, 4 days from now. We really don't know, but I think they'll be there. Curious about Gallows and Anderson as well. Like you can't sign everybody that was released, but there's a few key players there. The Revival, Gallows and Anderson, and maybe Rusev. I think you bring on without question. The rest, kind of wait and see. But yeah, I think we got to see somebody tomorrow. We have to, right? Hopefully we will. So anyway, that's going to wrap it up for me this evening. I want to thank those of you who were in here hanging out with us tonight in the chat, predicting Double or Nothing and talking about the previous week of TV. Don't forget, immediately following Double or Nothing tomorrow night, I'll be right up here live on YouTube for a full show review. We'll crack open a couple cold ones, chill out, and review what will hopefully be a really, really fun pay-per-view. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Friday evening. Take care, and I'll catch you in about 24 hours. Peace.